as I drop a glass of wine, but anyway. So, yeah, I'm Anna. I'm a psychologist, and I know that means that some of you will want to tell me your life story. But I only accept this if you bought me a drink first. It has to be a big one, and a decent glass of wine, not a crap. Also, I'm a reader in behavioural medicine, and what that means is it's what you do after you've been a lecturer and after you've been a senior lecturer, but you're not quite a professor, so you're sort of an almost professor. And so that's what I am. And you can actually look like this, believe it or not, and be one of those. People hate it, you know, I'm not going to lie to you. They don't like it. You know, you hear the sort of the mutters and the whispers and, oh, she's wearing red shoes. You know what they say about people who wear red shoes? I am wearing knickers. Anyway, at the moment. Moving on to the science. So, I want to tell you a story about some research that we did a few years ago, back before the days of smartphones, but it's led into a lot of what we do today. And so what I do, being a behavioural medicine or behavioural scientist person, is I look at things like stress and depression and death, you know, happy things. And we look at how it affects your health and how it predicts different diseases. So one of the things that we do to do that is look at the immune system, because the immune system, if it's not working well, is going to give you an awful lot of diseases. And we look at whether stress actually affects that. And one of the ways that we do that is we give people vaccinations. I love vaccinations. It really kind of appeals to my sadistic side, because it's a bit like giving someone a disease. Except you can feel really moral and good because you're not actually giving them a disease. So if anyone tells you they have the flu jab and it made them really ill, crap. The thing is dead, or it's had bits chopped off it. You cannot get ill from it. You can feel pretty rubbish, but you can't actually get the flu. Anyway, so we look at medical vaccinations and stress and see whether people who have a lot of stress have a worse response to vaccination. So what do I mean by that? Well, when we're looking at the response to vaccination, what you want to produce is a lot of antibodies. These are these things that you make, and if you've got a lot of them, you're protected against disease. So hang on, my prop in my very trusty handbag. This is an antibody. So in your bloodstream, they do look like this, a bit smaller, a bit less fluffy. I love these. You can buy these, anyone nerdy that's interested, from giantmicrobes.com. And I got so excited when I found out about these. Like one year, I got my husband to get me pneumonia for Christmas. He put it in my stocking. I was even more excited about that than I was about the chocolate orange. It was just amazing. Anyway, antibodies, good. You want a lot of these. So, we did this study and we're looking particularly at older people, because when you're older, unfortunately, your immune system's already not working as well as it did when you were younger. So we wanted to look and see whether stress might make that even worse, because, you know, we like looking at negative things like that. So we recruited all these people from GP surgeries across Birmingham. They're all over 65, coming for their flu jab. Actually, I say they're all over 65. There were two blokes who snuck in who were 64. And I think they were just really excited about the science. But it was either that or it was the fishnet tights that I wore on purpose. You see, I've always had this problem with older men. You know, it's ask my husband. You can't, he's off on a saga holiday. No, he's not really, he's sat over there pretending he doesn't know me. Anyway, yeah, so they snuck in, but it was fine, it was all right, and we measured what sort of stressful things had happened and looked at their antibody response a month after the flu jab. And what we found was that people who'd had a bereavement in the year prior to the vaccination had fewer antibodies after that flu jab. So they're not as well protected against flu, even if it was up to a year before. And I thought that's really interesting, a bit morbid, but quite interesting. Because it helps you understand things like why people, when they're bereaved, might be more at risk of disease or earlier death. Sorry, death again. I used to be a goth, can you tell? So anyway, so that was quite interesting. But while we were at it, you know, these studies are a lot of work, so you bang in as many questionnaires as you possibly can. So we thought, let's look at another interesting psychological factor called social support, which is basically, are your mates crap or not? Have you got enough mates, or are you a Billy No Mates? And the mates and the family that you've got, do they support you? Are they nice? Do they help you deal with life stresses? Now, the interesting thing about older people is that the main source of their social support over the age of 65 is the marriage. So 2/3 of our sample were married. And if you go back to all the science, you see that actually people who are lonely, socially isolated, not married, they die sooner, they get lots of horrible diseases. I'm sorry, it's miserable again. But this is what happens. So we thought, let's have a look at this and see if one of the links is the immune system. Let's look at it in the context of giving them the flu jab. But we thought, well, should we be a bit nosy? You know, so rather than just saying, are you married? Should we ask them, how good is that marriage? Believe it or not, there is a psychological, standardised, validated questionnaire that you can use for that. And it's called the Perceived Marital Adjustment Test. And what you do with it is it asks all sorts of questions like, when you make financial decisions, do you make them together, or is it one or the other? When you've had an argument, is it you or your spouse that says sorry first, or do you tend to sort of say sorry at the same time? And then the real crunch at the end, you know, if you had your time again, would you remarry this person? Dear subjects, we assure you of anonymity and we will not tell your spouse. But it's funny, because I've been married for like 15 years and I think, well, those things are important, but sometimes it's the little things, isn't it? You know, stupid things like lid on the toothpaste and toilets, you know, it's not so much about is the lid down, is the seat down? Did you pee on the floor around the toilet? Not my husband, a very clean man. He does it in the sink. But, you know, sorry, love. But those things are important. You know, did your life radically improve when you bought sat-nav and you could stop arguing about being lost every time you're on the way to somewhere? But they don't ask that. So we gave them this questionnaire. And we found that people, you know, who were happily married, you really want to be happily married if you're going to bother being married. You know, because the happily married people had more antibodies than those who were unmarried or even the unhappily married people. You know, so you really have to make the most of your marriage, if not only for the sake of your immune system, which, you know, I think is a very positive message. Now, you can imagine that the press loved this, right? So I'm getting phone calls. This was me as a little PhD student 10 years ago. I'm getting phone calls from international press and all this stuff going on, radio interviews. The Sun, get hitched to fight flu. They sort of understood, not quite. Korean TV came over, wanted to interview me, calling me Dr. Happiness, which I thought was a bit funny since I, you know, researched stress and depression and death. But they did, and it was good. But I always think, you know, you should support local, like places like this. So when the local, unnamed Birmingham Mail came along and asked me for an interview, I thought, yeah, okay. I had flu at the time, great irony, dragged myself out of bed, had a very red nose picture taken, did an interview, thought, great, Birmingham University research, let's get it out to people of Birmingham. Did they do that? No. What did they do? They went out onto the streets of Birmingham and asked people what they thought of this research. What do you think, Albert and Mary, married for 43 years, of this research that marriage is good for your immune system? Well, that's not right, is it? I've been married to you, Mary, for 43 years. It's never done me any good, has it? Oh, right, love you. You know, or like Dave, age 40, lives with his mum. I'm healthy, I'm not, I married, I hate women, I'm 42 stone. Honestly, it was almost as if they thought I'd made it up. It wasn't a scientific study and all these results. You know, it wasn't as if I'd taken 184 blood samples twice and listened to that story about Tony Hancock and given an armful of blood 184 times, twice, and still laughed and said, oh yeah, that's really funny. You know, just don't move your arm, well, I've got a needle in it. You know, so what does that tell you? Well, the headline was, Brummies give thumbs down to local research. Oh, I was gutted. Didn't matter, hasn't stopped me. But I think the lesson you learn from that is never talk to the media. No, I think you do still have to put your research out there and just learn that you can't win them all. So thanks for listening, and if you do feel the need to tell me your life story, again, at the bar is where I'll be with a large empty glass. Please fill it, otherwise it's just not worth my while. Thanks.
I have so many follow-up questions. Anna, hello. Does this explain why I'm asthmatic and very